Everybody, welcome back to another episode of Shifty's 49ers Talk. In this video, we're going to do my first ever 49ers mid-season awards show. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. There's a whole bunch of different categories we're going to go over, so stay tuned. It's coming right up. We are going to kick off this award episode with who has been the best rookie so far. Now, it came down to two different guys, and I'm going to go with the winner is going to be Spencer Burford, the right guard. So far, I think he's been very, very solid at right guard. He's had a couple, of not so great plays, and they both happen to be against the Rams and Aaron Donald. Great timing, Spencer. But at the end of the day, I think he's been really solid at right guard. They've had a little bit of a rotation with Daniel Brunskill to give him snaps, but Burford, really, really good so far. He should have a really great career ahead of him. Remember, this isn't really his natural position, so give him some more time. I think he's going to be a very, very good player. Now, you might ask yourself, well, who's the runner-up? And it would be Drake Jackson, the edge rusher out of USC, drafted in the second round, 3 sacks on the year. I do think he's going to have not only a good career, but I think the second half of the season, he'll really be able to step it up. We do see this a lot with Chris Kosora coached players, that the second half of the year, they really take a leap forward, and I expect that there. But so best rookie so far is going to go to Spencer Burford. The next category that I want to talk about is going to be who has been the most improved player from their previous season's performances. And the winner for me, I think it's a relatively easy one, although it did get a little bit close towards the end there, but it's going to be Talanoa Hufanga. I mean, this guy has been playing at a Pro Bowl level, 3 interceptions, sacks, tackles for losses, passes defense. He had the big pick 6 against the Rams earlier in the season. Talanoa Hufanga is a really, really good player. The one area that he could clean up a little bit are the missed tackles, but outside of that, I think he's been phenomenal. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, who is the runner-up? And to me, it has to be left guard Aaron Banks. In my eyes, he's playing at essentially a Pro Bowl level at left guard. Now, typically with offensive linemen, when it comes to Pro Bowl voting, you have to have like the big name, you have to be on a really successful team, so I don't think he'll get the votes for it, but in my eyes, he's been playing really, really well. So most improved player goes to Hufanga, but Aaron Banks in a close second. The next category that I'm going to talk about is who's been the biggest surprise for the San Francisco 49ers, and to me, really, is Tashaun Gipson Sr. He was, a late pickup in free agency right before the season started once Jimmy Ward had suffered his injury, and he's come in and done really, really solid. Now, in recent weeks, he hasn't played nearly as well as he did the first, 4 to 6 games, but overall, Gibson's been a really, really solid contributor. Again, especially, he was just kind of brought in, you would think maybe as a depth piece, maybe it'll be George Odom who starts, who knows, but overall, Tashaun Gipson has been a huge, huge surprise for the 49ers, although I do think that his role with the team is going to decrease as the season goes on. He is still someone who's very, very valuable depth and can come in and do a solid job in an instant. Now, when it comes to my runner-up here for the biggest surprise, it was actually a player who's just been traded, and that was Jeff Wilson Jr. Jeff Wilson Jr. has had a really, really good year so far. Outside of the fumble in Atlanta, he's really helped solidify the San Francisco running game. He's also made a couple of nice catches, but to me, overall, the biggest surprise of the year, I'm going to give it to Tashaun Gipson Sr. Now, this next category might be considered a little bit of a downer, but it's going to be, so far, my most disappointing player. And to me, that's going to go to Jauan Jennings. I really had huge, huge expectations for Jennings going into this year. It's technically his 3rd year in the NFL. He didn't play at all his rookie year, so really 2nd year playing, and you really were hoping to see a big leap in performance. Jauan has had a couple of nice plays, don't get me wrong, but has also had some really, really bad drops as well. So I really hope that he can elevate his performance in the second half of the season. When you consider all the weapons the 49ers have, Jauan Jennings should get a lot of good looks in the offense, in the passing game. Things are going to open up for him. Hopefully he can come back and have a big second half of the season. When it comes to disappointing too, I really can't pick out one particular player here, but I would also say as a runner-up would just be the special teams unit. Hasn't played well. Multiple, we've had field goals blocked, given up huge returns, things like that. And another thing, and actually reverting back to the special team, something that in terms of being disappointed with Jauan Jennings was in the game against Kansas City. At halftime, we kick the ball off. They get it to midfield. Jauan Jennings has a really, really dumb penalty way out of bounds and gives him a free 15 yards. So that also factored in there too. But for most disappointing, it's going to be Jauan Jennings. Next category here is going to be my best free agent pickup, and to me there's clearly only one guy here, and that is of course Charvarius Mooney-Ward. Man, he has been awesome. With the exception of the game against Kansas City, he has been so good. Has an interception against the Seahawks, a bunch of passes defense, and really locked down his guy. Whoever he's on, he will lock them down. Really impressive performances. He's just so tight in coverage. Really, it's just amazing to see, and it's so comforting as a fan to know that we have such a great cornerback back there, and that when he does get targeted, way more often than not, it's going to be an incomplete pass. So Mooney-Ward has been an awesome pickup for the 49ers. As runners-up, I would say, you would definitely go to Sean Gibson Sr., and then I would mention Oren Burks as well. But beyond that, I think this one clearly goes to Mooney-Ward. When it comes to the worst free agent pickup, and this is really a tough one because I don't necessarily think any of our players have played awfully, but to me, I'm going to go with George Odom. And really why? I mean, it's not like he's done a bunch of terrible things defensively, but when it comes to the special teams unit, in 2020, he was an all-pro player for his special teams performance. The Niners special teams has gotten significantly worse this season, even compared to last year when it wasn't good either. We brought in Odom to really help solidify the special teams, and unfortunately, so far, it hasn't really looked like it's paid off. Now, with regards to, a runner-up here, you might be able to argue Oren Burks or Ray McCloud in terms of the special teams performance, but I think both of those guys have stepped up in recent weeks too. So to me, it's going to be George Odom. I don't think he's a bad player. I just really hope that his impact on special teams will improve in the second half of the season. The next category is going to be who's been the best coach for the San Francisco 49ers. And to me, it's going to be DeMeco Ryans, with a runner-up as being Chris Kasarik. But DeMeco Ryans, the defense for the first 6 weeks was playing at an all-time NFL elite level. Now, when you look at the last couple of games, when you look at the game against Atlanta, when you look at the game against Kansas City, of course, really not great. But we were able to rebound and respawn in a big-time way against the LA Rams. We gave up 14 points in the first half, but completely shut them out in the second half. Only gave up about 50 yards in the second half against LA, plus all the great games early on in the season. Best coach for sure for me is DeMeco Ryans. Now, we're going to come up and go for the worst coach so far for the 49ers, and based on some of the things that I've said, I think it's going to be no surprise that the worst coach is unfortunately going to be new special teams coordinator Brian Schneider. The special teams has gotten worse. We spent significant money in free agency to upgrade the special teams. Now, the return game with Ray McCloud has looked a little bit better in recent weeks, but overall, it's just not been nearly what it needs to be, especially disappointed in the kicking game and then also in the kick return coverage. Not good enough, so I really hope that we can turn it around. But for me, worst coach so far goes to Brian Schneider. For my next category, I'm going to be looking ahead, and we're going to talk about the players who need to step up in the second half of the season. Offensively, I'm going to say Deebo Samuel. We've paid him big time money to be that offensive weapon. Now we have Christian McCaffrey, who's going to take, a lot of attention from defenses away from Deebo. Of course, Kittle and Aiyuk too. So I expect Deebo to get a lot better looks in the second half of the season. Hopefully his hamstring is all good and he'll be able to play coming out of the bye week. But I think Deebo Samuel is someone who needs to really get this offense to go to an elite level, needs to improve the route running, catching, and let's get that running going with Deebo Samuel to be a lot more consistent. Love Debo as a player, just want him to basically get near to what he was doing last year. If he does that, that means a lot of things for the 49ers. Now, defensively, who needs to step up in a big way? And to me, it's going to be Fred Warner. Now, Fred Warner actually had his best game of the season, in my opinion, against the Rams just last Sunday. So if Fred Warner can improve and keep doing those things, he had a sack, he had a number of really nice tackles, diagnosed plays really well. He needs to keep doing that. But for Fred Warner too, I'm also looking for some turnovers, whether it's a fumble forced, an interception, fumble recovery. We want to see those big impact plays by a guy like Fred Warner, which is really going to help out the entire team. When you can force turnovers and you win the turnover battle, you win a lot of games. Now, looking at special teams, who needs to step up? And I would say basically everyone. The kick return coverage, not great. Kicking has been very inconsistent. Robbie Gould has missed some ones that you expect him to make. He's had a couple of them blocked. One of them against Seattle returned for a touchdown in week 2. So essentially, I'm going to say the special teams, you all got to improve. And last but not least, and arguably the most important one, is who has been the 49ers MVP or the best overall player in the first half of the season. And for me, I'm going to go with Nick Bosa. This guy has just been phenomenal. Every single game he's been out there, 8.5 sacks on the season. He did miss a game against Atlanta, and you could really see in that game how much his absence was felt by the team. We couldn't stop Mariota, and let's be real, the Atlanta offense is not that good. I think we really missed the presence of a Nick Bosa, and overall just been really consistent, getting pressure, forcing mistakes, and he's just been so solid. Even against the run, he normally does the little things that you don't even notice every time, where like he'll force the running back to cut back inside, then he gets cleaned up by the interior defensive linemen or linebackers. But overall, Nick Bosa to me has been the best player for the 49ers so far. Now, when we talk about runners up, I'm going to say very close second is going to be Talanoa Hufanga. His impact at the strong safety position has been incredible. Now, I have always liked Jaquiski Tartt. I always thought Tartt was a very solid safety, but Hufanga, playing at an elite level, has really taken this defense to the next step. So really great to see. Some other guys, though, I want to give a shout out to in terms of performance in the first half of the season. It's got to be Mooney Ward, has been really good. And I'm going to give a shout out to Aaron Banks as well. I think Aaron Banks has been very solid and been really steady and consistent through the first 8 games of the season. But there you have it, guys. That is my mid-season awards for the San Francisco 49ers. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, whether you agree with my selections. If you disagree, great. Leave your thoughts in there and let me know where you think I could have maybe done a better job. But overall, guys, if you like the content, remember, like the video, do subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. But I do appreciate all of you for looking, and I'm going to say 2 things. The butt counts. I'm going to catch you guys on the flip side.